please. Sorry? Oh, okay.
There you go. Put your words in there.
That's it.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Burl Nadler, and I am the co-chair of the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, CIJA, in the GTA. CIJA is the advocacy arm of UJA Federation of Greater Toronto, and nationally all other Jewish federations across Canada and non-federated Jewish communities across Canada. UJA and CIJA are proud to host this evening's mayoralty debate, and I am personally delighted to welcome all of you here tonight on behalf of CIJA and UJA. I would like to acknowledge the assistance of the Anne and Max Tannenbaum Community Hebrew Academy of Toronto, known as CHAT, for making available to us this wonderful facility at its Wallenberg campus. CHAT, and I'll give a little plug for CHAT, is a secondary school that's actually renowned in Israel and the diaspora for its excellence in its rigorous dual curriculum in Jewish studies and secular studies. It prepares its students to be concerned and active citizens in Canadian society, as well as knowledgeable and committed members of our Jewish community. So yay, CHAT. Like CIJA, CHAT is affiliated with UJA Federation through the Julia and Henry Kashitsky Center for Jewish Education. UJA Federation's mission is to preserve and strengthen the quality of Jewish life in the GTA, Canada, Israel, and around the world through philanthropic, volunteer, and professional leadership. Year after year, UJA's annual campaign, which now raises approximately $60 million annually, allows UJA to care for our most vulnerable, build and strengthen Jewish identity and education, including through places like CHAT, and invest in Israel and assist distressed communities abroad. UJA creates infrastructure throughout the GTA that serves not only the Jewish community, but the entire Greater Toronto community. And in so doing, UJA strengthens our great city of Toronto, as so many of the agencies that UJA supports serve Torontonians of all backgrounds. Through CIJA, the advocacy arm of UJA, UJA supports public advocacy initiatives of all kinds on behalf of the Jewish community and on behalf of Israel. These include intercommunal relations with other faith and ethnic groups, government relations at all levels, municipal, provincial, federal, and advocacy on college and university campuses, which is very critical at this particular point in time. UJA and our CIJA GTA Council have convened this evening's debate as part of our public advocacy mandate to provide opportunities for Torontonians to participate directly in the civic events and the decisions that will determine the future of our community and our city. At this point in time, right now, it is hard to think of an event of that kind that is more crucial to us than the upcoming election of our mayor, something that really hit me as I got stuck in a massive traffic jam on the way here. The presence of so many of you here on a Sunday evening certainly reinforces that perception. Bill Moyers once said that democracy works when people claim it as their own. Your attendance here tonight is one way in which you have clearly staked that claim. Tonight's debate will be moderated by National Post columnist Chris Selly. It is my pleasure to welcome Chris to the podium. On behalf of CIJA and UJA, let me thank you all for being here this evening. Let the debate begin. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thanks once again to the sponsors of tonight's debate, UJA Federation of Greater Toronto and CIJA, the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. Thank you as well to Tannenbaum Chat, school facility hosting us here tonight on the Wallenberg campus. Tannenbaum Chat is affiliated with UJA. Of course, we especially want to thank the candidates here tonight for coming. I'll introduce them in alphabetical order. Actually, that doesn't make any sense. I'll introduce them in order of where they're standing next to me. First, we have John Tory. Next, we have Ari Goldkind. Next in line, we have Doug Ford. And last but not least, we have Olivia Chow. Before getting to the debate itself, we just want to let you know about how tonight's proceedings are going to work. First of all, in case you're wondering, the presentation order and podium positions were determined a few minutes ago by a random draw. Each of the candidates will deliver 3 minutes of opening remarks to begin. After those initial remarks, I will pose a question to the candidates, or to one candidate, to each candidate, I should say, on one of the following 5 topics: public transit, taxes, community safety, and the atmosphere and the environment at City Hall. The candidate to whom the question was directed will be given 3 minutes to respond, followed by a 2-minute rebuttal from each of the other candidates, and then there will be a 5-minute discussion on each question amongst all the candidates on each of those 4 questions. Once all of the questions are asked and answered and debated, each of the candidates will be given 3 minutes for a closing statement. We're going to be very strict about time. I have a timekeeper here in the front row, so that all the candidates are given a fair chance to express their views. And as I hope you noticed, we've chosen a debate format that tries to maximize the interaction among the candidates, and I'm sure that that interaction will, above all, be very civil, as it always is. So enough of procedural discussions. Let's get started. The first question, I'm sorry, no. The first...
30 seconds on the yellow and...
Yeah. Yes. Is that right? 30 seconds is yellow. Then there's 2. There's a red sign and a bell when you're out of time, so you can't possibly misinterpret that. So the first opening statement, 3 minutes, goes to Mr. John Tory.
Well, first of all, may I thank you all for being here tonight, and thank the 2 organizations sponsoring for inviting us here. These 2 organizations, as you've heard, contribute to the broader community in many ways. The UJA, of course, with outstanding philanthropy and community building, and CIJA by taking an engaged position within the political system in all corners. Indeed, I might start off by saying that the Jewish community in the broadest sense will be hugely important to my overriding objective as a new mayor for Toronto, which is bringing the city together into one Toronto. And I say that because you are engaged in city building and you are engaged within the political system, but you can also understand what it is like to be isolated and not to be fully accepted. And so as we knit the city together, which I think we really must focus on doing, knit it together geographically, knit it together politically, knit it together culturally, socially, and from a faith perspective, just to name a few, I will be calling on you for help. And yes, some of that help will be in the fight, the continuing fight against anti-Semitism, but also the discrimination faced by others in our community. We can and we must work together to make sure that no one faces discrimination or threat to their security in our city. That is one of the things that sets this city apart, and that is something that must always continue to set this city apart. But I'll also be seeking your help in getting transit built and addressing traffic chaos, because those are the things that contribute to the isolation of people in the city, not to mention damaging family life, damaging the economy, and so on. The same goes for jobs. I need your know-how and your willingness to help people, young and old, newcomers to Canada and others, who need just that small hand up to land a long-term job that leads to a career, the jobs which are good for them and good for all of us in the city. And I know you can help as well in running a tighter ship at City Hall, which we simply must do. The challenge isn't just to identify places where we can spend more. There are always lots of those. But the other challenge is to spend better and smarter. And we need help in instilling a culture of accountability into the Toronto City Hall where it has been lacking. Average citizens understand this quite well, since they have to live within their means every day, whether it's as families or as business people. I think you can also help your city government to be bold. We have let our city down by not building a transit station every year for the last 25 years. And with Smart Track, we now have an opportunity to make up for some of that lost time by getting 22 new transit stations in 7 years. We need common sense action with a sense of urgency on traffic, for example, not tearing up all the roads in a given area of town at the same time. I think after 4 chaotic and divisive years, our city is looking for a period of sensible, competent, accountable leadership. A leader who works with the City Council to get things done, a leader who forges productive relationships with the other levels of government, the Harper majority Conservative government and the Wynne Liberal majority government at Queen's Park, also to get things done, addressing all the things that we've talked about. This is what I'm offering by way of new leadership for a city we love, and I'll look forward to discussing the issues tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tory. Now 3 minutes for opening response for Mr. Ari Goldkind.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ari Goldkind. Thank you to the UJA and CIJA. And Chris, nice to see you tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. This is an election that, for me, is about choices. And everything that you're going to hear tonight is about who you choose on October 27th. For me, the question is, who do you believe will be the best leader for this city starting on October 28th? And tonight, I'm here to show you that you have a choice for mayor that you did not know that you had prior to tonight. I ran because I was fed up and not happy with the choices to choose from. Everywhere I go, people are fed up with the same things. Transit, gridlock, if you're a senior citizen, snow removal, if you're a person who cares about the 600,000 people who are lower income in this city. We are in a room in the Jewish community surrounded by people of faith, and even if you're not a person of faith, who cares about your fellow neighbor. And as I make my way through this campaign, I realize that we must ensure that we have a city with a heart. But different than my 3 competitors on this stage, who are absolute experts at telling you that they can feel your pain, the whole point of my campaign is to tell you how I will fix your pain. In many ways, this campaign has turned into a reality show. It's Kardashian world. It's Sesame Street songs. It's maps on napkins. That's why I decided to run for mayor, because as somebody who would lead a council of 44, I understood the difference between cartoons and courage. You know in your hearts, even if you're here tonight supporting one of the 3 good people on this stage, that on October 28th, there will be a majority of people who will be unhappy with that choice. I'm here to provide a unifying vision that is about one simple thing. We are a city that is worth investing in. We are not an overtaxed city. We are not a city that is riding the gravy train. Smart, adult people understand that we must be very careful not to elect a Ford in sheep's clothing. For 50 cents a day, 50 cents a day, all of us can make a tremendous contribution and raise $1 billion over my first term to take care of the troubled, the lower income, the disabled, and the elderly, and create a city where there is no more difference between haves and have-nots. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goldkind. And now we have 3 minutes of opening remarks from Mr. Doug Ford.
Well, thank you for coming tonight, and I want to thank all the organizers for putting this on. I'm looking out here, and this is probably one of the largest audiences that we've ever talked to. I also want to thank the Jewish community for the massive contribution they've made to this city in every single sector, in every single part, starting businesses, donating their time, donating to schools, hospitals, so thank you. Friends, 4 years ago, I walked into the CFO's office, the general manager, city general manager, they looked at us, and the first sentence out of their mouth was, "We have a crisis. We're facing $774 million of pressure going into this year. We're going to have a 24% tax increase. Services need to be cut." And we looked at them and said, "We're going to take care of it. We're going to make sure we keep our promises." That year, we delivered a 0% tax increase. We gave back that nasty $60 car registration tax that for some reason, some people, it didn't bother, but vast majority of people, that's $240 back into your pocket. I'm proud to say, after sitting on budget for 4 years as vice chair, first time ever going line item by line item through the budget, I'm proud to say that we balanced the books for the first time. We ended up in 2013 with a $248 million surplus. We also privatized garbage. Everyone in this neighborhood didn't have privatized garbage before. We privatized the garbage and saved over $80 million. Folks, I'm going to do the exact same thing east of Yonge Street. That will save $97 million and give them the same service that we've all experienced. We went out, we made TTC an essential service until transit wouldn't be clogged down. We made sure that there was labor peace for the first time in any administration. There wasn't any strikes. I think there was a library strike, not even, closing for a few days, but we saved hundreds of millions of dollars on the labor deal. We found $750 million of efficiencies. And I can assure you, we didn't do that by disagreeing. We ended up getting 98% of our agenda through because we worked with all the councillors and all levels of government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. And finally, 3 minutes opening statement to Ms. Olivia Chow.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk to you about the issues that really matter to people. I released my entire election platform on Friday, which I would talk more about it later on. And I'm proud of my plans to meet the real needs of people right now, to make sure that everyone counts, no matter where we are born or what neighborhood we live in, what color, what race, what religion, everyone counts. And I want to talk about that for a moment, because I know that there are still many people that still face discrimination, bigotry, and hate. And let's all agree, there is no place for hate in this city. Throughout the years, I've worked on anti-hate policies to fight racism and anti-Semitism in our city, whether working with Bernie Faber of the Canadian Jewish Congress and the Karen Mock and Bernays Biff. We made headway from education strategies on helping students to stand up against anti-Semitism, or supporting teachers so they know how to teach about Holocaust or genocide, or to get a grant on the anti-hate crime, on anti-hate helpline in this city. All of that, we've made progress that have helped our city become stronger for our diversity. But we can never rest on this, and we must always be vigilant against all bigotry, whether it's anti-Semitic or racism or anti-immigrant, as I myself has been exposed to in other debates. So no more silence. Let us build a city without hate. Our city is really at a crossroad. Not only do we need a new mayor, we need a change of direction, a real change. And there's a fundamental difference between Mr. Tory and Mr. Ford's campaign and mine. Mr. Ford and Mr. Tory's campaign might ask, what can I get away with not doing anything at all, or how can I cut this program or that service? Their bottom line is the bottom line. Now, don't get me wrong, that's important. To me, the bottom line is where good government starts, not where it ends. The important job we have to do is bigger than balancing the books. It's about balancing the needs of all the people in this city, their hopes, their dreams. And I'm talking here about our whole city, not just part of it. So it's about what we are willing and able to do, working together to see the good work, the good ideas, the good hearts of this city shine out for all the world to see again. So I hope I can count on your support, and we will talk about how we can build a better city together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chow. We're going to move on to our questions here to the candidates. The first question, so each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer this, starting with Mr. Goldkind. The first question is, how is your transit plan superior to that of your opponents, and how do you intend to pay for it? Mr. Goldkind, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's very simple. My transit plan involves a simple concept. There was a mayor named David Miller. And David Miller, who doesn't receive his due, had one overriding idea of what would make this city better. And it was to connect parts of the city that have been left ignored for decades. And by opening up Toronto to more people and running LRTs, subways, buses, streetcars, bicycling, 5 modalities, 6 if you include walking, it was to take and assist the unaffordable Toronto problem that we have and bring everybody into the life that so many of us are lucky to have. So while this city has been very, very good at ripping up transit plans that were excellent, the premise of my plan is to tape them back together. How do I pay for it? That's what's put me on this stage, because I am the only one on this stage who is being very open and honest with you and saying that we have to talk about taxes. I do not believe, and if you disagree with me, you will not check off my name on the ballot on October 27. If you believe that Mr. Tory's Smart Track plan is going to be free, then he has the superior plan for you. If you believe that Mr. Ford's subways, like Harry Potter, if you say it 3 times it'll come true, if you believe that's real, then he will have earned your vote. And if you believe that when Ms. Chow runs on the land transfer tax increase only on 475 people who are wealthy, and those are the only people that are going to be asked to pay a bit more, and that raises $20 million, if you accept that math, then she will have earned your vote. Let me tell you how I will earn your vote. By raising $1 billion over my first term. $1 billion by asking each household in this city to pay 50 cents extra a day. While everybody else on this stage is intending to go to the province or the federal government with their hands empty, I intend to go with the entire city on my back. And as somebody who negotiates for a living, there is no stronger position to take to 2 levels of government than we need than to say the people of Toronto have spoken and they feel that we have a transit plan that's worth investing in. That's my answer.
Thank you very much. Next up, Mr. Ford, how is your transit plan superior to that of your opponents, and how do you intend to pay for it?
Well, my plan's called the transportation plan, because we know that 30% of the people take public transit, but 70% of the people drive. And I'm looking out here, and I'll guarantee there's probably more than 70% of the people sitting in this audience that drive. We put a system together to coordinate the lights across the city. And we did it to 1,000 intersections, and then the last couple council meetings, we added another 500. I plan on doing that right across the city. Folks, no matter where you go in the world, you see a world-class city, they don't have LRTs. They have subways. You go to Madrid, you go to Paris, you go to London, you go to New York, you go to Chicago, it's rapid underground transit. We can either put a Band-Aid solution and destroy the city like they destroyed St. Clair Avenue. My friend, Mr. Tory, Ms. Chow, they want to run LRTs down the middle of Shepherd Avenue here. It would cause traffic congestion for years. Rather than doing something properly, as my father taught me in our business, if you're going to do something right, do it right the first time. Buy a quality piece of equipment. And I consider subways a quality piece of equipment. Not to mention the development that can create on top. And I notice I have 30 seconds, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Folks, I'm the only candidate here that is going to deliver subways to this city that is part of the existing line, and that's important. I'm going to address that later. Part of the existing line. I'm going to build it on Finch, Shepherd, downtown Relief Line, and across the city, and especially on Eglinton Avenue, to my friends in Etobicoke and Scarborough that do not want outdoor transit running down the center of Eglinton Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Ms. Chow, 3 minutes.
We need faster, cheaper, better transit right now. So my plan, yes, right now, not 10 years from now. So my plan for transit are based on the experts' plan. My plans bring immediate relief through 10% increase of bus services. And I would listen to the experts and build the light rapid transit, whether it's on Finch, Shepherd, or in Scarborough. And no, it is not a streetcar. It is a light rail that are throughout all, that's present in all world-class city, including Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and Ottawa. And our city is very behind. So we need to get that construction started now. We spent at least 5 years studying it. All the engineering studies are done, the environmental assessments are done. Let's start the construction, create jobs, and create hope in those communities. I will also listen to the expert and build the downtown subway relief line. That is #1 priority for the TDC, and that's what I would do. And of course, I would also electrify the Gold, which is what the province is doing anyway, no matter who's the mayor. Because people cannot wait any longer. And that's why my plan is superior, because it's comprehensive and designed by experts. I also want to say that, yes, we need to make traffic go a lot smoother. Developers that block a lane to build their condominiums or their houses right now are being charged a flat rate, no matter whether they close the lane for 1 day, 1 month, or 1 year. That doesn't make sense. There needs to be financial incentive for them to finish the construction faster, so that it should be a graduated rate. The longer they close the street, the more they pay. That is important. That will free up the space for traffic. And that's what we need to do, and I want to talk to you a lot more. I see Mr. Ford, it's just walked in. I hope him to have good health.
Thank you, Ms. Chow. We're going to move on now. We're going to give each of the candidates 2 minutes to rebut or... I'm sorry. No, we're not. First, we're going to go straight to Mr. Tory for his 3 minutes on his transit plan. Mr. Tory.
Well, it is, ladies and gentlemen, a transportation challenge, and that means, first and foremost, fixing traffic, because there's a lot of public transit vehicles sitting in those very same traffic jams that we're in. And that includes the construction coordination I talked about. It includes just a lot of common sense fixes that haven't been done over the last 4 years or before that. It includes improving the reliability of the transit system. I'm the first one you've noticed that's spoken about that of the 4. And that includes stopping this bunching that happens where you wait 12 minutes for a bus or a streetcar and then 3 come. And includes ridiculous things like the fact you can't even buy tokens at the subway with your debit card or credit card. You can buy anything else in the whole city. And then it gets on to service enhancement. And I happen to believe, ladies and gentlemen, we have to do something bold. Both Mr. Ford and Ms. Chow are now in the camp where they say that we can afford to wait 17 years to get the downtown relief line done. I disagree. I think there is an option in front of us which is being done as we speak in London, England, called Surface Express Rail. They call them surface subways. It'll take existing GO train tracks for the most of it, and it will electrify those, and it will put 22 new transit stations in place in 7 years. Because for the most of it, you don't have to tunnel, you don't have to buy land, you convert those tracks, you put the electric trains on, emission-free, quiet electric trains, and you get the service going for people every 15 minutes all day. And I think when you have bold ideas, there are lots of challenges that those will face, but we need to do something with a sense of boldness and a sense of urgency that in order to address what is, I think, a nightmarish situation in this city with regard to traffic and transit, because we've let it go on. With respect to the other part of the question as to how you pay for it, 1/3 of Smart Track paid for by the federal government. We'll have to go and champion that, but I think they will be looking for opportunities to invest in this city on its biggest issue. 1/3 from the provincial government, which is has set aside some money to electrify GO train tracks across the province, and we're going to have to go and make sure 416 is dealt with first, and 1/3 from tax increment financing, which is founded on confidence I have in this city continuing to grow and develop going forward, and founded as well on the fact that putting this transit line in place will attract development, commercial and residential and retail, and it will produce a small part of the incremental revenues produced by this transit line will be enough to pay for the transit line and make it a reality in 7 years, not 17 years.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. I've been spoken to by the organizers. I somewhat misunderstood the format we were doing. What we should be doing is having 3 minutes to the first person who's going to answer, and then 2 minutes of rebuttal for each of the following candidates. So we will rotate through the 4 questions. Each candidate will have an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. You may all have all understood this. I did not. But what I think we should do at this point then, to make up for lost time, is to move straight into our 5-minute discussion period on the issue of transit. So whoever wants to jump in against one of their opponents on something they said, or Olivia or Ms. Chow, you're signaling.
Yes, I am. So, Mr. Tory, you said service subway. That means you don't have to tunnel, and you said that you won't need to tunnel. And then I showed that there are houses, there are library, community center, childcare center, church, and a bank. So you do need to tunnel. You wouldn't tell us how many kilometers you have to tunnel on the west side, which is about 20% of your plan. And now we have experts said that you probably have to tunnel most of that 12 kilometers, and it would cost something like $2.5 billion, which is not part of your plan, part of your funding plan scheme. And your funding plan said 1/3 of it is from the city, which is about $3 billion. That tunneling itself will take most of that city portion. How else are you going to be able to fund this? Because you either don't do the west portion, or if you're doing the west portion, you have no money left to deal with the rest of your scheme. How is it going to be possible?
Well, I'm delighted at all the attention you're paying to Smart Track in the campaign. And look, the bottom line is, we have to do this, and every single major project of this kind faces challenges of one kind or another. And when you refer to Surface Express Rail, which is the name that was given to it both in Ontario and in London, the fact is the one being built in London as we speak, called Crossrail, has extensive tunneling, and they still call it Surface Express Rail because by and large it does run on the surface. But of course there was never any plan to do anything to interfere with houses or community centers or any other things you want to go and point at, because you're very focused, Olivia, on finding ways we can't do things in this city. This is why we're in the mess we're in. Because for years we have been wringing our hands and finding reasons why we can't do things. And I say this is a concept that is working in London, England. It's under construction, a project even bigger than this. It's working in Washington. It is called Surface Express Rail there. They are getting on with it because they realized, as we should, that we have an urgent traffic, transit, and transportation problem in this city. It needs bold action, and there isn't an alternative my friends have put on the table that will provide as much relief as fast for the the price this is going to do it by using the underutilized GO train track to get the job done and at last be able to say we did something with a sense of urgency.
Very briefly, if you want to
Well,
respond.
how much is it going to cost? Because you said you wouldn't tell people that how many kilometers of tunneling it would cost, how many kilometers and how much money. You don't have a plan B, your financial scheme didn't work in New York, hasn't worked in California, it have never been done in this country ever, and you have no risk assessment. So how is it ever going to work?
I made up tax increment financing, and the fact of the matter is it was put in place by the Government of Ontario, and the Minister of Finance who put it in place, Greg Sorbera, said this was exactly the kind of project that it was meant to apply for, because this project, Smart Track, will not only lead to citywide transit relief across the city in 7 years, not 17, as my friends are promising, but it will attract additional development along its line, because it's going to be an attractive place for people to build buildings to live in and buildings to work in and buildings to shop in, and that's exactly what's going to happen that's going to pay.
Thank you, Mr. Tory. Mr. Ford, you had signaled.
Well, I just want to get a straight story off Mr. Tory. It just keeps changing every single day. Every day starts off with the downtown relief line as his priority, absolute priority. Then he flip-flops over to the backtrack plan. Then up to 3 weeks ago, the people out in Etobicoke don't want the streets dug up, and neither do the people in Scarborough. 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks before the election, he flip-flops again. I'm going to ask you a straight question, Mr. Tory. You say that your backtrack plan connects to the existing line. Mine connects to all existing lines, but actually it doesn't. Have you been to the Dundas West station and the Main Street station? Do you know that the backtrack lanes, the lines, are actually half a kilometer apart?
Well,
so my question is, are you going to tunnel? My question is, are you going to tunnel? Or are you going to walk through the snow? Or are you just going to give out free jetpacks for everyone to go from point A to point B to get to the subway?
The fact is, you have been a member of City Council for some time now. I think it's 2 years. And you should have been the one that should have been at Main Street, for example, establishing a pedestrian walkway there, because it could have been done in consultation with the province of Ontario, but it hasn't been done. So it isn't a jetpack. It's either a walkway or some other thing. Again, in this day and age, that's you standing there. You, by the way, who changed your mind last week from the Finch subway you were the campaign manager for to the downtown.